As a joke on a preparty, I kissed his best friend, but the vibe shifted and everyone went silent. Then, in just a minute, and as a result of the carelessness of one person, everything in one's existence can change forever. And in my case, this is exactly what happened. In a split second, both my husband and the whole family, all at once, went out of my life. The magnitude of that loss has made me feel lonely and lost. I am just feeling lost because I did not see this coming, because all of the goals that we used to work for and look towards are gone. I always visit Reddit to read all those stories that people post, and sometimes I judge them and other times I support them. I never thought that someday I would come here to write my own story and let everyone judge me, because I am sure that all of you will judge me, and you are right to do so. But I hope that between all the judges, there will be someone who will say, "It's okay, you are just a human, and all humans make mistakes." I am Jay, and I am 30 years old. 3 years ago, I got married to the love of my life, Andy. Andy was 2 years older than me and worked as a lawyer. From the very beginning, he showed deep professionalism towards every task that he undertook, and I must say that I respected him for this quality. Despite this, I do not think it is fair to only limit the scope of my praise towards him to professionalism alone. In all honesty, there were several factors that made me hold him in high esteem. For one, he was highly competent and proficient in his work, but he also had a natural tenderness that most people did not possess. He was indeed a good person by nature and quite attractive. What I found most impressive was his willingness to try and assist, particularly those around him. I would say in everything he did, however little it might have seemed, revealing his care of others. This trifecta of professionalism, kindness, and relevant dedication is what made me admire the person even further. I knew him when I was going through the most difficult time of my life. I had lost my best friend to cancer, and life had turned upside down. I thought I would never be able to smile or to be happy anymore, but he came and made my life beautiful, and he brought back the colors to my life. During those times, I used to go out often and drink a lot. Andy has a special talent for creating the most mind-blowing dates. Each of the outings was so well planned and was so full of delightful surprises that proved his inventiveness and knowledge of what makes one content. Nevertheless, the most momentous date was the one when he got on his knee and asked me to marry him. After being in a happy relationship for 2 years now, he waited for the right time to let me know how much he loved me. It was a pleasant evening with pleasure, emotions, and the beginning of a couple's happy life, an important chapter of our history. While I was learning more about him, there is one event that I will surely remember. It was when we found ourselves dancing together. It was when magic was in the air, and he stood before me and asked whether I would do him the pleasure of dancing with him. I had no idea that such a simple act would eventually bring us all together in what has turned out to be a wonderful journey. From that very night, I entered into a relationship, and that relationship kept on growing stronger day by day. He is able to bring peace to the hurt. He reached into the very deepest part of me and, in ways that I would never even have considered before, brought light and happiness. I would so much love to tell you the specific date that marked the day he asked for my hand in marriage, for that is a day which I shall cherish always. It had certainly been one of the most enthralling days of my life, overflowing with sentiments and glamour, which made me feel simply like the most romantic girl in the whole wide universe. I cannot describe precisely how it happened, but at that instant, all that surrounded us disappeared. So it was, an exclusive moment for two in love, full of benevolence and tenderness. The way he gazed at me, the love words that came from him, and the warmth that he relayed to me made me appreciate that moment so much more. Every single thing I can remember, the place, the expressions on our faces, and this is going to be one of the major turning points in our life as a couple. Now, let's get to the heart of the matter at once. What he did was an utterly superb idea of a marriage proposal that took place in a beautiful place by the sea, next to a wall of red roses spelling out, "Will you marry me?" in vibrant red letters. It was indeed an unforgettable experience. Without hesitation, at once, I said yes. The words hardly catch the beauty and the magic of the time the sun was setting in a rainbow of colors, washing all surroundings in a warm light, intense, the sweet roses in the air, and there we were, loveliness with our white dresses that vividly added to the surrealistic effect of a movie scene. It was a moment you could believe only happens in a movie, or it was a scene in a movie that tells the story of a loving couple. Likewise, the movies, guys, also a happening that appeared to go beyond reality itself. After the proposal, we started living together, and since his apartment was bigger and better, I moved to his apartment. Everything was going great. We had a magical vibe between us. Love was always shown. Even when we started living together, he and I still organized romantic and beautiful dates to keep the flame alive. And let me tell you about the sex. It was amazing. I have heard a lot about the couples that, after starting to live together, lose the passion or the flame between them and suddenly become like friends. With us, that didn't happen. The passion grew day by day until things took the wrong turn after we got married. Now marks the beginning of the most challenging chapter in our story, a chapter I never expected would unfold in such a painful way. As a journalist, I engage with a wide range of individuals, each bringing their own unique stories and viewpoints on various topics. This role has truly transformed me into a more outgoing and communicative person, allowing me to connect with people from different backgrounds. I've also gotten to know my husband's friends quite well, and they've become friends of mine too. The conversations I share with them broaden my understanding of the world and improve my ability to connect with others, both in my personal life and my career. I find it fascinating to listen to their experiences and perspectives, which often offer valuable insights that enhance my work as a journalist. The relationships I cultivate not only expand my social network, but also strengthen my sense of community, highlighting the significance of connection in both my personal and professional life. My husband, the love of my life, always took me with him when he went out with his friends, and every time he had to go to a party, I went with him. Now all of his friends were mine too. We used to have a lot of fun. We went to the beach together and organized travel and vacation together. Going on trips and adventures together was always very fun. During those times he took me with him. I knew John, a charming, handsome guy. He was one of the friends of my husband, and he was part of the group that was always with us on our adventures. He started flirting with me, and I started to like it. But things did not happen out of nowhere. My husband had just received a promotion at work, which should have filled us with joy and excitement. Instead, it quickly turned into a situation that left me feeling more and more alone. With the demands of his new position, he became consumed by work, often spending long hours at the office or bringing his responsibilities home. When he was around, it felt like he was still miles away, glued to his computer or lost in phone conversations. The bond we once had started to unravel, overshadowed by the relentless pressures of his job and the growing emotional distance between us. Now sometimes, when our group of friends organized any party or any meeting, he would never come, but instead he would tell me to go with his friends, which now I knew very well and were also my friends. I found myself repeatedly reaching out to my husband, hoping to revive the romantic outings and special dates we used to cherish together. I suggested a variety of activities, from casual dinners to adventurous outings, reminiscing about the wonderful moments we had shared in the past. Yet, no matter how often I asked, he never seemed to be free. He always replied with the same excuse, saying he was swamped with work and had no time to spare. This constant focus on his job created a widening gap between us, slowly driving a wedge in our relationship and making it harder for us to connect like we used to. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, I couldn't shake the feeling of longing for the closeness we had lost, all because of the demands of his career. What happened is that I started flirting with John too. However, as time passed, we started to hang out outside of the group too. Slowly, the nature of our relationship changed, and we formed a friendship that felt real and promising. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that our bond was turning into something deeper than just friendship. There was a clear connection between us, a spark that suggested stronger feelings. On the other hand, I wondered if I was merely trying to escape the difficulties and challenges I was facing in my life and relationships. The situation is quite complicated because I started a romantic relationship with John, which ultimately led to me betraying my husband with his best friend. By that point in my marriage with Andy, our physical intimacy had significantly decreased. We were making love maybe once a week, if that. The once vibrant passion we shared had faded over time, leaving our connection feeling more like a routine than a romantic bond. In stark contrast, my relationship with John was a completely different experience. From the very start, there was an undeniable spark between us that reignited feelings I thought had long since faded. With John, every interaction was filled with excitement and intensity, making the emotional and physical connection we shared feel vibrant and alive. This new relationship awakened a longing within me that I hadn't even realized I was missing, highlighting the stark differences between my past with Andy and the thrilling dynamic I found with John. When our relationship first blossomed, I felt an exhilarating and intense attraction to him. Each day after work, I would eagerly make my way to his apartment, where we would lose ourselves in each other's company and share passionate moments that felt almost tangible. There was something intoxicating about the secrecy and spontaneity of it all. The thrill of escaping the routine of daily life filled me with a rush of adrenaline that only deepened our bond. It's hard to describe the kind of passion that ignited between us, a spark that felt both electric and all-consuming. The intimacy we shared was unlike anything I had ever known. Each encounter felt like a journey to a blissful paradise, only to return to the harsh reality of my life. Meanwhile, things at home were getting worse, becoming more strained and complicated with each passing day. In stark contrast, my time with John seemed to grow richer and more fulfilling, creating a striking contrast that left me both exhilarated and conflicted. John became my safe haven, a place where I felt comfortable and secure. Whenever I reached out to my husband, hoping for his companionship and support, he was always caught up in his own responsibilities, leaving me feeling overlooked and isolated. In those moments of loneliness, I naturally turned to John. He was a single man living on his own and had always been there for me when I needed someone to talk to or confide in. My husband started showing signs of suspicion, constantly bombarding me with questions every time I left the house. This was a huge change from how things used to be. He had never been one to pry or worry about where I was going or what I was doing. The situation escalated to the point where he even asked to look through my phone, as if he thought there was something to find. It was both baffling and frustrating because it felt so out of character for him. It was like he suddenly had time to be paranoid about my actions, even though he had consistently neglected to prioritize our relationship and spend quality time with me. I know many of you will judge me, and honestly, you have every right to. The truth is, he didn't deserve the betrayal I inflicted on him. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, and my family loved him deeply too. Looking back, I see that I made a terrible mistake, one that I now recognize as the worst decision of my life. I chose to cheat on him, and that choice has haunted me ever since. I should have been more patient and given him the time he needed to deal with the challenges at work. I should have opened up and shared my feelings and concerns with him instead of taking the easy way out. Now I find myself sharing this painful story of how I completely shattered my own life. I lost everything that mattered to me and ended up utterly alone, with no one to turn to and nowhere to call home. The weight of my actions is something I carry with me every day, and I regret not doing the right thing when I had the chance. The bomb of the story exploded when it was one of my friend's birthday, and he threw a party. We went there, and we were doing this game with cards, where when one of us loses, it has to complete a challenge. When I lost, my husband asked to kiss John, and without even thinking about it, I did it. I kissed John. So, as a joke at a preparty, I kissed his best friend, but the vibe shifted and everyone went silent. Then my husband came near me, looking into my eyes, and started applauding, and told me I knew you both were cheating on me. I was shocked, and I didn't know what to say. I told him that it was not true. We were not cheating on him. It was like he knew it. He knew we were cheating on him, and now he was just provoking us to show everyone what we had done. I told him this was just a joke and it was not true, but he continued to say that he knew he had proofs we were cheating. This was just the end of our cheating. It was the end of the show. John made a bold statement to the entire group, claiming that it was indeed true that I had been unfaithful to my husband and that he, in turn, had betrayed his closest friend. The atmosphere was thick with disbelief, and everyone present was taken aback by such unexpected revelations. Gasps of shock echoed around the room as people processed the gravity of the situation and the implications of John's words. It was a moment filled with tension, where friends exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to comprehend how such a betrayal could occur among those they thought they knew so well. The air was heavy with unspoken questions and the uncomfortable realization that trust had been shattered. What truly shocked me was that my husband, in a cruel act of revenge, had actually recruited others to film my most vulnerable moments. It felt like he had carefully orchestrated this shock, making sure that the most humiliating parts of my life were captured for everyone to see. The very next day, he heartlessly shared the footage online, allowing anyone to watch. This shocking act wasn't just about hurting me, it was a calculated move to manipulate how others viewed me, exposing to everyone who I really was and what I had really done. I never thought someone I loved could stoop so low to damage my dignity and reputation. The betrayal hurt deeply, not just because of the act itself, but because of the lengths he was willing to go to ensure I would be publicly shamed and ridiculed. But to be honest, maybe I deserved it. I mean, I cheated on him with his best friend. Who does that? The video was everywhere. My family started to call me and ask what it was. Was it true? After making sure it was true, they said they didn't raise me like that and they would never forget it. I was ashamed for them. That hurt me even more. When I went home after the party, my calculative husband had prepared my things already. He had hired someone to do that while we were at the party. I was crying and I didn't know what to do or what to say. I could not ask why because I knew why. I cheated on him and he took revenge from me. I just told him I was sorry and I didn't know what I was doing. It was like I lost my way, but I loved him. He looked me straight in the eyes and told me with deep conviction that my actions were completely unforgivable. In that moment, he said I was the worst person he had ever met in his life. As those words sank in, I couldn't help but see the painful truth in what he said. A wave of guilt and shame washed over me. It felt like a heavy weight had settled on my chest, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I truly was the most despicable person in the world. The realization gnawed at me, and I found myself overwhelmed by self-loathing and regret for what I had done. I had never felt so low, so utterly defeated by my own choices, and his judgment only intensified the torment I was feeling inside. He also pointed out that he had done me a huge favor by taking the time to pack all my things, and he insisted that I needed to leave his house immediately. But where would I go? The thought of it filled me with dread. Deep down, I was sure my family wouldn't welcome me back. The distance between us had now grown highly after what I did, and I knew it would take a long while for them to come to terms with everything that had happened. Forgiveness felt like a distant dream, something that might never come, and the uncertainty of my future hung over me like a dark cloud. The idea of facing the world outside was overwhelming, and I was consumed by despair at the thought of being completely alone. I reached out to my best friend to see if I could stay at her place for a few days, and thankfully, she said yes. She has always been the one person who truly tried to understand me and stood by me during tough times. During this difficult period, I also decided to take a few days off from work because I just couldn't face anyone. I was overwhelmed with emotions and wanted to avoid interactions. However, I was hit with an unexpected blow when I received a dismissal letter telling me I had been fired. I couldn't help but think about what else could possibly go wrong in my life. Because of my poor choices, I found myself not only jobless, but also without a home, feeling completely lost with nowhere to turn. The company explained that the video circulating online was damaging their reputation, and that's why I was let go. The weight of shame and pain pressed down on me. It was a harsh wake-up call, and I finally started to understand the consequences of my actions. What was I supposed to do now? How could I possibly fix the mess I had made? The reality of my situation was that I felt completely powerless. There was nothing I could actively do to change my circumstances. All I could do was bide my time and patiently endure the tumultuous storm that had engulfed my life. Once the storm had finally passed, I would need to turn my attention to securing a place of my own to live, as well as seeking employment to support myself. The uncertainty of those tasks loomed ahead, but for now, my only option was to wait for the chaos to subside. That is what I did. I am now looking for a job and an apartment. Also, I am trying to rebuild my life and heal myself by forgiving myself for what I have done. Please everyone go easy on me. I know I have made the biggest mistake of my life, but I am still hoping to find some understanding among you guys. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. Wishing you all the best. Jay. Update. Hey guys, it's me, Jay, again. I am here again for all of you that asked for an update on my story. Firstly, I want to say thank you to all of you that supported me in this difficult period of my life. Also, I want to let every one of you know that I am okay. I still have not forgiven myself for what I have done, and I am still trying to heal, but I am okay. For all of you that asked about John, I did not see him anymore. I sent him a message that everything we did was a mistake, and I never saw him again. My ex-husband made the decision to send the divorce papers to my previous workplace, mistakenly believing that I was still employed there. As a result, I received a phone call from my former employer, informing me that there were important documents waiting for me to pick up. This unexpected turn of events has now thrust me into the midst of a divorce process, which has been anything but straightforward. The situation surrounding the divorce remains complicated and tumultuous, and I find myself feeling quite overwhelmed and disorganized during this challenging time. However, despite the chaos and personal turmoil that I am experiencing, I am genuinely committed to working on myself. I am making a concerted effort to reflect on my experiences, learn from them, and ultimately strive to become a better person as I navigate through this difficult chapter of my life. I want to say to everyone to keep the people you love close and make smart decisions. Also, always communicate your feelings. Communication can resolve everything. Thank you for the time and your comments, guys. This is the end of my story. Thank you, Jay.